Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Smart Lawyers Love Dumb Nurses. My name is Brian Smith, and today we're going to talk about your job interview. Why do job interviews feel so tough? We're going to talk today about hard questions in your job interview. I have 12 challenging job interview questions that with this podcast, you will knock those questions out of the park. These are very typical job interview questions that will be asked by your potential manager or possibly the HR representative. So let's begin. One of the most common questions that they will ask you right off the bat: what are your weaknesses? So what are they asking you for? They want to gauge your self-awareness and your openness to self-improvement. So how should you respond? You want to mention a specific area you're working on to improve. You want to highlight your proactive steps and your growth mindset. That's what they're looking for. Everybody has weaknesses. You don't want to say something like, I have no weaknesses, but you don't want to make it too revealing or put you in a position of weakness yourself. So mention a specific area that you're working on to improve. Next question. Describe a time you dealt with a difficult customer. Now, the old saying, the customer is always right, still applies at times. If you're a nurse, it could be your patient or client. That's the new word now. So why are they asking this question? They want to evaluate your customer service skills. Customer service is big now. They also want to evaluate your ability to manage stress and conflict. So how should you respond? You want to provide an example where you navigated the situation, maintaining professionalism. That is the key word there. How you dealt with a difficult situation, a difficult customer. Now remember, the customer also includes your team, your colleagues. So you can answer it whatever you feel is the appropriate answer, but they're looking for how did you manage stress? How did you manage this conflict? So they can evaluate your customer service skills. Another question that's very common in a job interview: what sets you apart from other candidates? Why are they asking this question? They want to find out what unique value you bring to the team. And everybody should have a value that you will bring to make the team better. So how should you respond? Highlight your unique skills by talking about your experiences or your perspectives that directly benefit the role you're applying for. Remember, they're looking for someone who will add to the team, not detract or take away from the team. So, what unique skills do you bring? It's always great to have skills. I always found this next question to be one of the toughest that I had to answer. What are your salary expectations? So why are they asking this? They want to determine if your expectations align with their budget. Now that's difficult to say. They want to determine if your expectations align with their budget. So how should you respond to this question? Provide a range based on your research. Yes, research of the industry standards and your experience. Don't forget to add your experience, and be sure to express a willingness to negotiate. Your salary expectations should not be set in stone. also do not want to undersell yourself. You do have value, but you have to be able to negotiate. Next question. Can you give an example of a time when you had to defend a decision? So why are they asking this question? They want to assess your confidence in your decision. Many times a young nurse, a new grad, lacks self-confidence. So they want to assess how confident are you in your decision making. And we all want to make better decisions. So how should you respond? Share a situation where you stood by your decision. You were not wishy-washy. You stood by your decision and explain your rationale. This is why I did what I did. This is why I said what I said. I love working with team members who have conviction. They stand by what they say they're going to do. Next question. Again, these are difficult work HR questions. Tell me about a time you missed a deadline. Why are they asking that question? They want to understand your time management skills and how you handle setbacks. What they don't want to hear is, I'm perfect. I don't make mistakes. I've never done anything wrong. I've never had that happen. That would be the wrong thing to say. You need more coaching if that's what you're planning on saying. And you can bet that they will ask you that question. They want to understand your time management. How did you handle that setback? It could have been a small setback, but it's a setback nonetheless. So how should you respond to that question? Be honest. Talk about the circumstances and emphasize what you learned and how it changed your future approach. Next question. How do you handle delivering bad news to a client or manager? Why are they asking this question? To see your communication and empathy skills in difficult conversations. How should you respond? You want to discuss your approach to being honest while also being tactful. And you want to be solution focused. Focused on fixing the problem. How did you handle it? The next hard question in your job interview. How do you handle stress? Why are they asking that question? They want to learn about your resilience and methods for managing pressure. And let's face it, nursing is stressful. There are situations that come up that you've got to be under control, and you've got to be able to handle that pressure. Pressure can bust your pipes, but pressure also creates diamonds. So how do you respond? Describe your effective stress management techniques. You really better have some to talk about. And also how those stress management techniques help you maintain your performance under pressure. Anyone can perform well when there's no stress, but managers want to see how you work under pressure. Next hard question in your job interview. Tell me about a time you faced an ethical dilemma at work. Why are they asking this question? To assess your ethical standards and decision-making process. How should you respond? Detail a specific instance, focusing on the actions you took to uphold integrity. Managers and human resource personnel are looking for people with integrity. People who have ethics and will stand by their ethical decisions. Next hard question. Why do you want to leave your current role? Why are they asking this question? To identify your motivations and ensure they align with the company. How should you respond? Focus on seeking opportunities for growth, new challenges, or alignment with your career goals. Next hard question. How do you decide what to delegate and to whom? Why are they asking this question? They want to evaluate your leadership and your management skills. How should you respond? Explain how you assess skills, how you assess your workload, and how you assess development needs of team members to delegate tasks appropriately. That is a tough question to be asked, but if you follow this podcast advice, you'll knock it out of the park. Final hard question for you on this podcast today. How do you handle conflict with coworkers? Why are they asking that question? To assess your interpersonal skills and how you contribute to a harmonious work environment. How should you respond? Highlight your ability to communicate openly, aiming for a collaborative resolution. Communication, no matter what your profession, but in particular for nursing, is vital. It's not just important, it is vital for the communication to be positive and harmonious, and that's what managers are looking for. So you communicate openly, and you are looking for a collaborative resolution. You want to work with the other team members. I think that's a good place to stop for today. My name is Dr. Brian Smith. Stay focused, stay inspired, and stay tuned. Thank you for listening.